Okay, so I was wanting to talk about this Casio watch, the MDV 106-1A black analog anti-reverse bezel watch. Just wanted to talk about some of my impressions, the specs, the design, things like that. So this isn't a review, but just more of my general impressions. This seems to be a really solid watch. It's patterned after a sort of a classic look for a diver's watch. It's listed as being 200 meters water resistant. Basically, that means you can take it swimming. You can't go too far down. Water resistance is a funny thing, but so basically, this watch is just a very good looking watch, design wise, with the bezel and everything, and the way that the markers are laid out and the hands and all that. It looks like something that would cost multiple times as much money. Just a very good looking watch, and I really like the design of it. It does feature a rotating bezel, so you can keep track of elapsed time, which is really cool. I mean, for such an affordable watch, this goes for around $40. Most places, you might be able to find it for a few bucks more at a store. I love the contrast of the white markers and hands on the dial, and also just the markers on the bezel overall. You have that sort of iconic, well, I guess I would say familiar marker on the top of the middle of the bezel, and also the double marker directly under it on the dial for the noon position. You also have a date window. It just shows the date, not the day also, but it's a nice little addition. The hands are just good and large, so it can really be seen. Overall, a very simple design for the look of it, and if you'll notice also on the side near the crown, there's a bit of protrusion there of the stainless steel case over the top and bottom section of it to sort of keep that protected whenever you might bump into anything. It's got a rubber strap, which is pretty typical for a dive watch. People seem to be, for the most part, pretty satisfied with this watch and really impressed that just for what you can get for so little money. So I think dive watches are incredibly popular. And of course, most people who buy this are not going to use it for diving, probably. It's just good to know that you have a watch that's going to withstand more than a splash, Basically, like if something says that it's 50 meters water resistant, it's probably going to be where you can pretty much just like get some splashes on it when you're like doing the dishes or whatever. But if it's listed as 200 meters for water resistance, it means that you can take it underwater a bit, and that's always nice to know. Of course, people who are really into watches, they may look down on a brand like Casio, but I really respect them for making really, just solid, inexpensive watches. They're not super fancy or anything, but they're highly durable, and their quality control seems to be very high. I mean, you don't hear about people getting a bunch of defective Casio watches. But yeah, based on what I'm seeing, the fact that you get a rotating bezel, you get a name like Casio, which is decent for quality. You get the luminous markers and hands. That alone is worth the price of a watch, even if it wasn't a dive watch, in my opinion. You've got the usual stainless steel case and all that. But, for around like $40 or $50, as long as it's a pretty decent watch, I really don't think that you can go wrong. But it's just, to me, I think that the number one reason to buy this watch is just how it looks, honestly. I have to admit, when it comes to watches, I'm less focused on features, and I'm a lot more focused on design. Just how does the thing look, especially when it comes to the dial itself. The markers in the hands, just the way that it contrasts, it's just a beautiful little watch. One cool little standout here is that with the luminous hands, even the tip of the second hand is, at least the tip anyway, is luminous, which is pretty cool. People say that the lume isn't as strong as some other watches, like especially probably some of the higher end dive watches like Citizen and things like that. Well, I guess I shouldn't say higher end, but compared to this, watches in the several $100 range. However, they say that the lume is still, it seems to be all right from what I've seen in photos. People do say that it lasts for several hours. One person did say that it lasted for up to 8 hours. Now that maybe it's slightly different on different models. I don't really know how all that works, but at least on theirs anyway. So I think that's pretty cool. I like the bezel with the markers and the fact that you can actually turn it. A lot of watches in this price range, you don't even get a rotating bezel. And so you've got that rotating bezel, the nice style of the sort of classic looking style of the hands and markers, just the way that everything contrasts, white on black design. But yeah, just an overall good looking dive watch that seems like it'd be pretty resilient, pretty tough, and just a really good pick for an affordable dive watch. And so, yeah,